I could not believe what I watched. This is the Secretary of Commerce. This broke at 11 a.m. Eastern time. This interview was done several hours later, and she hadn't heard about this? Why?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Gina Raimondo is a great secretary. There's a lot going on at the DNC. I don't know why she hadn't heard about the revision. But what I do know is that even with that downward revision, President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's economy has created millions more jobs than Donald Trump ever did. Even taking out the year of COVID.
Those are jobs added back.
Let me finish. Even taking out the COVID jobs that Trump lost, if you look at the first 2 years of the Trump administration, Joe Biden created more than double the number of jobs that Donald Trump did. Those are just numbers. Those are just facts. And so we can have a debate about if Donald Trump is reelected or if Kamala Harris is elected, whose economy would create more jobs for the middle class, would help wages continue to grow, or whose economy, like Donald Trump was proposing, would help only the wealthiest and corporations among us. That's a policy debate that Biden-Harris administration and the Harris-Walz ticket is happy to have every day of the week. Just look at the numbers. They don't lie.
Yeah, I am.
When you have a COVID lockdown and then you reopen the country, those are not new jobs. And the bottom line, Kevin, is when you poll this with any polling company, Gallup, Fox, CNN, people do not feel good about the economy. Inflation was at a 9.1% level under Joe Biden. And the Secretary of Commerce doesn't know what's going on? I mean, you were Speaker. You had a lot going on at times politically. Would your team have informed you about something like this?
This is the United States Secretary of Commerce. She would have been briefed before it went public.
Right.
But this is just like the Biden and Harris administration. They first lied about Hunter Biden's laptop. They went and got people in the intel community, more than 50. People who are former in charge of the CIA to tell the American public it wasn't true. They lied for the last 3 years, and this is Kamala Harris's #1 thing, about the mental capacity of this president. When I raised the issue after meeting with him, she would say I was lying. This is what we found, a pattern of behavior. At this convention, they are trying to make Donald Trump the incumbent because the right direction, wrong direction is so upside down. They're saying there's new hope. Hope for what? That Harris will no longer be there? I mean, this is astonishing to me. They're trying to make this whole election about Trump when they have failed in foreign policy, border, economics, everywhere around. If you stick to the issues, Donald Trump could have a big election night.
Harris.
Yeah, I want to smile more this hour, but it doesn't make me smile when people spit out facts that aren't true. So let me just start with this. Not even counting all of the millions of people who sat down because they were not essential or, lost their jobs because businesses couldn't keep them on board because they couldn't be open during the COVID pandemic. So that's millions of jobs right there. But including, Kayleigh, what you said, with the shutdown comes collateral damage. So when places started to open back up, we had lost so many of our biggest engine in America for job creation and job hiring, and that is small businesses. We had lost so many of them. So to say that Joe Biden created things out of thin air just isn't true. It's not true. He started to put back what the economy would generate on its own because people still have dreams. And while it was 9%, they were still trying to figure out how to make that dream of a small business work. They fail a lot in normal times. They failed a lot in COVID pandemic lockdown times. And they're dying now because the price of things is so high.
Emily, I do want to point out the media because they're aiding and abetting the left on this. Major news networks, it's a pretty big deal when 818,000 jobs is what you're off by. Well, bring in CBS News, 0 minutes of coverage, NBC, 0, ABC, good for you. You got 20 seconds, according to Newsbusters.
I mean, unfortunately, all that does is, as always, disserve the American people. I'm glad, Harris, that you brought up small businesses, because remember, let's take California, my home state. After those hideous and unnecessary lockdowns, after the massive wielding criminally of government agencies, the majority of small businesses that shuttered permanently there in that state were female-owned. And the majority of those female-owned small businesses were women of color. And aren't those the groups that the Democrat Party is supposed to have exclusive jurisdiction over? This party is absolutely hypocritical. They come on stage, they tout Pritzker, but then it's not okay for Donald Trump to have money. They say, oh, Walz, he brought himself up by his bootstraps, but it's not okay for J.D. Vance, for example, to come from Appalachia and go to Yale because Yale was the wrong school. The whole point is that the tired talking points by the left will continue. He's going to make corporations bigger and the wealthy wealthier. That's not what happened at all. The difference is that everyone, Harris, as you say, all boats rise with the tide. That happened under President Trump, and everyone has plummeted under Biden-Harris. And no amount of gaslighting or brainwashing or tamping down the media coverage will help or will remedy American suffering right now.
Excellent point, Emily. All right, new poll shows majority of Gen Zers have very little faith in the presidency. Those details next.